we have the super popular lifestyle and beauty creator, Anmol Dua, here with us. So Anmol, are you ready?
Absolutely. This was my first ever podcast. I think this was perfect. So the first video that I made, I found myself extremely stupid. The right word would be cringe. In the larger scheme of things was that you just have to start.
So was there a moment that made you realize, okay, this is getting big?
First 10 lakhs or first 20 lakhs. In 6 months, I need to make this much money.
अभी तो content creation माशाल्लाह कमाल का चल रहा है.
When I came to Bombay, I knew I had to make things work on my own. Super anxious about how this is going to work. What if this is not working out? The waters are wavering.
If content stopped paying completely, would you still create content?
I was still doing something in this space even when it wasn't paying enough. So that was reason enough to continue doing it.
All of this taxation bit and ये सब सबसे पहले तो स्कूल में सिखाया ही नहीं जाता.
They don't know how to manage their money and they don't know where to invest better. To grow, you also have to integrate. Brands pay differently to different creators.
How much would that money be?
10 crore.
Who is the one creator from India that you look up to?
I love her work. Skinny jeans. They need to go off the face of earth.
वो चले गए ना अभी तो?
नहीं. वो वापस आ रहे हैं.
वो वापस आ रहे हैं. Welcome to Creators Cashflow, the podcast where we decode identity, interests, bilkul personal insights, and also income of your favorite creators. I mean, it's not just about the paychecks, is it? It's about the mindset, the mess, the milestones, all of it that makes their journey truly personal. And today, to share her insights, her life story, we have the super popular lifestyle and beauty creator, Anmol Dua, here with us. Anmol, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much.
We're absolutely delighted to have you here. As usual, you're looking lovely.
Thank you so much, and so are you.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, before any of the questions that I have, prepped up on, written to ask you, the first thing that I want to ask you is that your Instagram bio says, amongst other things, hustler.
Yeah.
Describe, elaborate on that.
I mean, there was a very conscious reason I put it because everyone I meet has eventually put this into my head, which was not a conscious thought before, that whenever I talk to them or whenever I meet them, I'm always onto something or doing something or planning for the next day. And it took a friend for me to realize that, you're such a hustler, and I feel like everyone either on my Instagram or in my personal life knows that I'm always like on the move. And it's not just with work, even when it comes to like my personal life, or if it's someone's birthday, or if it's something happening in my personal life, I just like to keep things rolling. So someone put it into a word for me and called me a hustler, and I thought that's a nice way to describe me, so let's just call myself that.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Great way to describe you itself. Tell us a little about bachpan kaisa tha? How was the childhood like? Because I came across this really interesting anecdote that your experiences in front of the camera started from a very young age.
Yeah.
Tell us, how did that happen?
Okay, so I have spent my childhood in 2 cities, in Delhi and in Ahmedabad. So it was different situation for me altogether, because when you shift from one city to another, there's a huge cultural gap that comes into place. And for me, it was a point where I lost a lot of confidence, because I came from a place, and while I was maturing, I was put into this different place where everyone had their like friend groups formed, and like kids can be a little, cruel. So I found it really difficult to find my own place growing up in a school where I shifted, like my dad got transferred. But something that helped me carve my internet online journey, or also like my personal growth, was my sister in so many ways. So she started out becoming a photographer like some 15-20 years ago as a hobby.
Oh, acha.
And I was sort of like her first muse. Because when you have a camera, and that's obviously a substantial amount of investment that you put in for someone who wants to kind of understand what this is. So I was the kid at home, I was her younger sister, and she would just kind of use her camera to make me, to shoot me, and like to experiment a lot of things with it. And that's how I kind of became comfortable in front of the camera, even though back then I didn't want it. I was a kid and I was like, Didi, bahut der ho rahi hai, please jaldi karo. Like, someone who did not belong to this world and didn't know what this meant, I was simply helping her out. But in the years that followed, and how you were exposed to the internet and so many things happening, I started posting on my work online and kind of started to gain a recognition in the city we lived in, which is Ahmedabad. So a lot of people are connected in that city because it's not such a big city. So when you're like a duo of like a photographer and a model, like a sister duo like that, a lot of people sort of start recognizing you in that role. So I was the model and she was the photographer. So a lot of people started recognizing us as this like power duo who would, make things happen. We would do so many creative shoots at a time that a lot of people were not doing creative work in Ahmedabad back then. So that sort of gave me the confidence. I sort of went public with my account and a lot more people started to recognize my work or the things that I do. And I started working with more people that were not my sister too.
When you started becoming the muse for your sister, how old were you?
I think, I don't remember the age, but I think I was in around 7th grade.
7th grade. So like
grade.
12, 13.
Probably, yeah.
Cute. And what a journey it's been till now. Amazing. There's lots more that I want to ask you about how the shift to Mumbai happened and all of that. But how was Bachpan in your household like? How was finance talked about? How was money talked about? Was it hush-hush or was it comfortable conversations?
There was never a lot of conversations per se about finances, but I do come from a background where we did take money seriously. In the sense that, obviously we were not out splurging money on different things. I come from a service background, like my dad was into a job, and that is how, as I mentioned, we shifted cities across a lot of years. Like for more than me, my sister, like who's 6.5 years elder to me, my mom and my sister and my dad have shifted a lot more than I have. So the cultural shift for them has been a lot more for them. For me, it's just been like 2 cities. So I have spent a substantial amount of my life in Ahmedabad, and now it's like home to me. So yeah, I mean, talking about finances, I don't think growing up I was ever made to feel like we're lacking anything. We were very comfortable in that sense. But with the way where me and my family comes from, we've always been conscious spenders or people who value money a lot. We will think over the things you want to buy, the expenses you want to make, but in a very beautiful way. Our parents never made us feel like we were in less of anything, because we were not. And it has a lot to do with them trying to make their ends meet and give us a much, much better life than where they came from. I really do value my upbringing on that front a lot.
Lovely. That is so great to hear, because as you mentioned as well, you guys got an upbringing where आप लोगों को कोई भी कमी महसूस नहीं हुई. But at the same time, you guys were taught the importance of savings as well, the importance of money as well.
Correct.
Amazing. What a balance. I want to ask you then, how did the shift to Mumbai happen? What led to the city shift? What led to the first job? वो कैसा था?
Because COVID hit is the reason why my college went online, right? So I spent my last year of college online. So as I mentioned, I was doing freelance modeling all this while with college, but on a very small level, because I didn't have much time with my college to be doing a lot of things, because in my college itself I was doing so many things. So once I was done with my college, I most definitely wanted to venture into a space of entertainment, probably get a job, because at that time even modeling for me was not a full-time thing, and I never looked at it as a full-time thing that I wanted to do. It was something that I really liked doing and I was comfortable doing, and I never wanted to leave the side of it as a passion project, So I worked for this brand as a model, whose founder was also on the shoot, and he recognized me as my sister, Chandni's sister, who always used to accompany her to shoot. So I had a background in production of, how to take forward some shoots. So like if there's a photographer and if there's a model, then how to direct them. So to understand the brand's tonality as to how would you want to take things ahead. So he recognized that I had a knack for it, and right after my college, he sort of came up to me and offered me a job in that field. And that was also in fashion. So it was very much in the space that I wanted to work in, and I was like, this sits perfectly. So I joined them as a creative manager. And since I was a child, there was something about Bombay that called out to me in like a million different ways. And I always knew that at some point I wanted to shift to this city. I always wanted to work in Bombay. So I thought this was a nice time to, kind of switch things up and look for something. So because I'd already worked in the fashion space, I started looking for jobs in the beauty space, because that's something I wanted to explore for myself. Yeah.
So I want to ask you, when and how exactly did the content creation journey start?
After COVID hit and I think Reels became this entire thing, at first I didn't even realize what this is, and I was personally not so acquainted with and also not so comfortable with the video content. As I mentioned that I was very comfortable in front of the camera about the pictures that my sister clicked. So the first video that I made, I found myself extremely stupid. I absolutely hated the way like I sounded on camera, and the right word would be cringe, and I just wanted that video to disappear.
Mic तो लिया नहीं होगा तब?
Yeah, no.
So it was
Mic
just phone
was
audio?
not even a concept. It was just a camera in front of me and like trying to make probably a makeup video. So, but you know, I took the call of maybe looking stupid, but I made that video and I went ahead and I posted it anyway. But I knew the world was shifting. The economy was shifting to this whole video content on this platform called Instagram, which I obviously was on. But to grow, you also have to integrate. That is a realization that I had, and I felt like it was time for me to also explore more facets of things that people are doing online and get out of my comfort space of, you know, just being a model. So the most important part of that entire journey that I realized in the larger scheme of things was that you just have to start. Everything else gets figured out later.
Absolutely. You know, I want to ask you, because when I was doing research on your journey as well, I got to know that within a few months is when you moved away from your job, from your full-time job as well, and took up this, that is content creation, as your full-time job.
Correct.
So I want to ask you, वो कैसे हुआ, or what made you realize that this is turning into something? This is turning into something जिसको एक full-time career बनाया जा सकता है.
Correct. So when I was working my job in Bombay, it was a full-time job, and along with the job, as I mentioned, I started creating content on my own for things that I liked. And eventually, by this time, there were a few brands who were interested to work with me because of the content that I was putting out, which was a very nice blend of my personality. So it had a lot of my editorial work that I used to personally invest into making, because that's just the background that I came from. So as I mentioned, I used to do so many shoots with my sister. I had so much of portfolio work that was building alongside this that I used to put all of it out there. So once I started putting that work out and started working with a few brands here and there, there's a certain amount of income that started coming in. And like, to let you know, that was obviously a freelance thing. At this point, I didn't know how there was already a professional system into place. People are, you know, doing this full time. When I was working with these brands alongside my job, eventually month after month, that started to grow. And I could then recognize that, okay, apart from just doing this as work that gets me some extra money, this work is recognized and this work is valued. And it's also because probably I'm bringing something else to the table. There were so many creators anyway, but I didn't understand the creator economy or this market as much back then. I was focused on to creating good content that aligned with my energies and the space that I was in. As I was in the process of doing more of that, I recognized that brands wanted to work with me because I brought that into place for them. So as more and more brands worked with me, I eventually realized that, you know, this is something that I can look at from a full-time perspective, because I'm putting so much energy, time into producing these videos, making them nicely, and brands are recognizing that and be doing content full-time. So the first few months were really overwhelming. I was double guessing everything. I was questioning. If you ask my family, if you ask my sister, she would tell you how extremely anxious I was on so many days that I would wake up. You know, what if I stop getting work? What if this is not working out? Because when you shift from a very comfortable and safe space to, you know, being completely on your own, and, you know, the waters are wavering, whatever you do will power what you get. Whether it's with finances or having the stability over your life, especially when you're living in a city that's not predominantly your home. I think as a universe's way of reassuring me, work just kept flowing.
Was there a moment or a milestone or a figure, financial figure अगर आप चाहे तो mention कर सकती है, or a numbers figure for that matter, like the first million that you hit? So was there a moment that made you realize, okay, this is getting big?
When I got into content, I always set like benchmarks for me, like, I need to hit my first 10 lakhs or first 20 lakhs, whatever my next benchmark was. It was something that, I would give myself a timeline to. Okay, so I've started this, and let's say this is how much I charge right now, and in 6 months, I need to make this much money. So that started happening for me right after I, started creating content regularly full time, and I think I've still kind of continued that idea of setting those benchmarks for me, for the future me, and that keeps me going.
That's amazing. So, bit of the figures that you mentioned kind of gave us an idea कि अभी तो content creation माशाल्लाह कमाल का चल रहा है. Tell us a little अभी किस तरह का चल रहा है? Which are some of the campaigns that you're really proud of? How do you see the journey in short time itself? 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
How's it going now?
I have worked with mostly all of my dream brands. Like, that takes you up a notch as a creator, because then you have the attachment of a really good brand working with you. So I think that has helped me a lot. And I think with respect to months and money, the second half of the year, let's say an October to December span of time is a really good time, because
peak months?
Yeah, peak months, because in India we're high on festivities. So there's a lot of campaigns, there's a lot of things going around, and it's not just branded deals, but a lot of activations that happen on a lot of other levels that people require you for, whether it's having conversations, hosting lives, being a part of a bigger community. So there's so many touch points that you as a creator can also do, and those are the most heavy months. You hit a really high mark around those months. During my best months, that is probably October to December sometimes, because we're doing a lot of celebrations. I think most creators end up making probably 4 to 5 times what they make usually, or on other months.
So what is a regular month earning like? Ballpark, you don't have to give exact.
I think obviously for different creators, it looks differently depending on how long you've been working for, what kind of content you create, and what kind of brands you work with. But I feel like creators who are micro creators can charge anywhere between 40,000 to 2 lakh, depending on, again, these different facets of the content that they create. Brands pay differently to different creators basis the work that they do. And again, that is defined on a lot of levels. Sometimes it's followership, sometimes it's the niche that you're delivering to, sometimes it's obviously the engagement that you bring to the table, or sometimes it's the quality of work. Brands also believe in boosting content and purchasing ad rights for a lot of creators that they love working with. So they might not organically get them the numbers they want, but they know the quality of work that they bring into place is really important, because that is what aligns with their brand. So they don't mind paying a creator a lot more than probably the numbers hit, and then investing a little extra money on boosting that content or running ads, because for them that quality is a lot more important, like for some brands.
So when this was going on, how were you able to handle finances? What are some of the, say, habits that you did or practices that you did? What did you manage and how did you manage? Because as you said, वो constant per month salary तो बंद हो गया था. So how did you manage the finances?
So I made sure that when I made my switch, I had a bank of savings to fall back upon if things didn't work out. And that just comes from how I think I was raised. I was always raised to know that you need to have a backup plan in place, because life is just super uncertain and you don't know how things roll out. So when I came to Bombay, I knew I had to make things work on my own. I was never falling back onto my family for my finances or to power my life. So even when this shift happened, I knew that if I'm getting into content, I need to have my savings set into place as to the first few months going as per planned or not. So I saved a lot of money, and even when I started making regular money with content creation, around the time when I switched to full-time content creation, I made sure that a huge chunk of whatever I'm earning is saved. I'm not someone who would, earn let's say 10K today and spend all 10K. I would make sure that I spend a little if I have to, but I will save most of it if I don't have an urgent need to buy something. So I think that mindset, that perception, that is also very internalized, has helped me manage my finances and make the shifts that I made all through this while, whether it was shifting cities or shifting jobs.
So we can safely say that the upbringing and the teachings from the parents played a key role in that?
Correct. And I think it was never about explicit teaching. It was never that my parents sat down and, gave me a lesson about this is how you need to live your life. But I feel like it was a conscious way of living. It's how you see people around you live their lives and you take your little anecdotes from it. Because your parents are the closest to you and you see and you observe their life the most. I think this is what I internalized in myself, of how you need to be conscious of the spendings you do and basically not be a splurger. Like, I don't think anyone in my family is a splurger.
Great. I want to combine two questions and ask you साथ में. एक तो, were there anything that you did differently when you were a salaried employed as far as handling your finances were concerned, and when you became a freelance content creator full-time, but matlab content creation only full-time, so the payments are coming in on a freelance basis, on an invoice basis. So did you do anything differently when it came to handling your finances? And the other question that I want to ask you is, all of this taxation bit and ये सबसे पहले तो स्कूल में सिखाया ही नहीं जाता, मतलब हमें कोई ऐसी टीचिंग्स मिलती ही नहीं है. So would you say that it is critical to be financially literate as well, not just for a content creator, but for any profession?
Yes, of course. I feel like a majority part of the learnings that we do in school are about so many things that don't come to use in the real life. And I wish
life में use नहीं किया.
Yeah, I wish there was more of skill-based learning when we were growing up, and a huge chunk of that should have been about taxes and money, because growing up, that is one thing that all of us have to deal with, right? Like, eventually everyone starts to earn money and they need to find ways to manage it better, invest it better. And in today's world, if you actually see, that's what such a huge part of the youth is actually confused about. They don't know how to manage their money and they don't know where to invest better. Some people could really figure it out, they can learn on their own, and some of them are just really clueless. So I wish there were more insights while I was growing up, especially in the school time. If we were taught better, I think we would have planned better about more investments, because right now our knowledge still goes as beyond as what the CA can tell us, or maybe what my dad could tell me, personally speaking. But I think a personal arc to it could have come if we studied about it sooner. Luckily for me, my dad always had a CA for himself and then eventually for my sister as well. So we just employed the same CA for managing my finances as well. So that was taken care of.
Absolutely. What you mentioned, kids learn what they see.
Yeah.
So yeah, great example. Great, very natural teachings as well. जो बिठा के teachings करने की ज़रूरत भी नहीं पड़ी. I'll give another example of what I myself went through. जो पहला job था, the first 2 years, then I started working as a freelancer as well. 24 साल का लड़का started working as a freelancer. Got to know कि when you cross 30,000 of payment from one particular client, उसके बाद TDS कटता है. My first question was कि क्यों कटा? पहले तो नहीं कटता था. Like, back कोरक, that was salary. This is freelance payment. आपको TDS कटेगा. Like, how will I get it back? They're like, end of the year, when you file your taxes,
there is a possibility you will get it back.
Then you will get it back. And then I tried very hard to file my taxes myself, which obviously didn't happen.
Yeah.
There's a reason why CAs learn what they learn and then do it. And a lot of people can not afford a personal CA.
Of course.
Family CA शायद नहीं है. And for them also financial literacy becomes a concern. So many youngsters these days, they struggle with financial literacy. They struggle with what to do with their finances. So, just try to train yourself better. Use AI. Use a platform like ABCD. Learning about financial literacy is as simple as learning ABCD. So yeah, check it out. Anmol, as your followers kept increasing, how did the money that was coming in, how did the income start increasing?
So, in the very beginning, because I was not so well versed with how the finances bit worked or how to charge myself, I think in the initial parts of, like, let's say when I was at a 5 to 10K or a 15K following, I would charge about half of my following. But eventually, as my work started to grow and the quality of the work that I delivered started to become better, I started increasing my finances maybe like to a 20 or a 30%. And eventually that just kept elevating because more and more brands came into play. So I had to be selective about the brands I was working with and also charge likewise. So if there was a bigger brand which I knew had a bigger budget and also demanded a lot more work, I would charge a lot more, maybe closer to my following or sometimes even more, depending on, how the work was flowing or what brand was on the table.
this is one very common question that budding creators have in their minds as well, that what are, say, some of the different areas of income? What are the different streams of income for a regular creator?
I think also as a creator myself, I personally believe that it's always beneficial to have multiple streams of income and not just depend on one, because there's so much more you can do and also find the time, and eventually if it sets, you can find the synergy between both the things or the multiple things you're doing to, serve at a platform. And it's also great to build your financial portfolio and really great for your financial health as well.
So Anmol, I want to ask you, because in just 3 years' time, you have created such a great niche for yourself. If one has to ask you, what will be some of the pieces of advice for budding creators? When it comes to content creation, even when it comes to financial literacy, finance, what will be some of those advices?
So the first thing I feel can be to make sure that you have a safety net when you're transitioning your careers, like maybe shifting from a job to a creator, or leaving any safe space. Make sure you have a safety net to fall back upon, because things don't always go as planned. So it's always better to have something to fall back upon that can help you sustain for a bit while you figure other things out. And secondly, it's really important to have financial goals set for yourself. So if you're working on yourself or working with just yourself for your career, it's better to set a goal, like maybe by the end of the year, I want to make like let's say 10 lakhs, or I want to make 1 crore, or because setting those goals into place will actually power through whatever you're doing in your days. Right, so whether it's as a creator or even as a job, that is exactly what keeps you moving. So that is like financial goal setting, really important.
Very important. And what is equally important for a good podcast is a great rapid fire.
Okay. Oh
yes. We cannot end a good podcast before a fun, rapid fire. So Anmol, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, brace yourselves. They have to be quick and they have to be rapid.
Okay.
All right. How many days a week do you actually work? Be honest.
7 days.
Wow.
Some weeks where I like kind of don't work when you're on a vacation or something, but most days it's 7 days.
If content stopped paying completely, would you still create content?
Absolutely. I was still doing something in this space even when it wasn't paying enough. So that was reason enough to continue doing it all the more.
All right. Who is the one creator from India that you look up to?
I think I really like Deepa Khosla's journey, because she's a creator turned entrepreneur. I love her work. I love the way she has built a beautiful brand that has its roots in India.
One, Deepa Khosla it is.
Yeah.
Yes. Ever at the start of your career, did you pretend to have a manager just to seem bigger?
No, actually I was always my manager in the beginning part of it. So I think that was a really good time to understand how things work, because I think you're the best manager to yourself. So you learn a lot of things. So when I actually got a manager, I knew how to take it ahead.
Would you ever delete your most viral post for X amount of infinite money?
Probably.
How much would that money be?
10 crore.
That meme from Dhamal.
Yeah.
Okay. What's one fashion phase that you wish the internet would forget?
Fashion trend.
Yeah.
Skinny jeans. They need to go off the face of earth.
वो चले गए ना अभी तो?
नहीं. वो वापस आ रहे हैं.
वापस आ रहे हैं. When you're happy or say heartbroken, which phase do you shop more during?
I shop consciously, so I feel like I shop when I'm happy and only when I need to.
If content creation ended tomorrow for some reason, what would be plan B?
I think I would be working as a brand strategist at a company, and would be probably working or maybe working at a production house to make good films and maybe be a director, I guess.
That sounds great. Or brand strategist, though, as that you have worked before also?
Yeah.
The experience we have. Anmol, thank you so much for this conversation. It was such a delight to talk to you. I'm dead sure the audience feels the same way as well. How was the chat for you?
It was amazing. You're such a great conversationalist, and because this was my first ever podcast, I think this was perfect.
I'm so glad that your podcasting debut happened here and happened with me.
Same here, same here.
Thank you so much. Do tell us, how did you enjoy this conversation? Tell us what your favorite parts were in the comments below. And of course, keep making yourself more financially literate, handle your finances better. And the best way to do that is through the app ABCD, as simple as learning those 4 alphabets. Download the ABCD app now and simplify your finances. This is me, Korak, and Anmol. I will see you in the next one.